They weren't famous. They weren't beautiful. And most people don't even know they existed. Hidden in old factories and forgotten yards are trucks that look like they came from another world. Free front axles, backward cabs, engines in impossible places. These weren't concepts. They were real working machines built for extreme jobs that no longer exist. Today we uncover 10 strange classic trucks you've probably never heard of, so rare, so odd that history almost erased them. Number 1. Scammell mechanical horse. In the early 1930s, Britain was still deeply dependent on horse-drawn delivery wagons. Cities like London, Manchester, and Birmingham were crowded with carts moving parcels, coal, milk, and railway freight between depots and shops. Horses were reliable, but they were slow, expensive to maintain, and limited in range. Scammell Lorries Limited identified a very specific problem: how to replace the horse without losing the flexibility that made horse wagons so valuable in dense urban areas. The result was the Scammell mechanical horse, introduced in 1934, a vehicle that looked nothing like a conventional truck and was engineered around one single purpose: urban shunting and short-haul delivery. The mechanical horse was a three-wheeled tractor unit with one centrally mounted front wheel and two rear wheels. This unusual configuration allowed an extremely tight turning circle, far tighter than any four-wheeled lorry of the period. It could turn almost within its own length, making it ideal for cramped railway yards, narrow streets, and loading bays where horses had once excelled. Its most remarkable feature was the automatic trailer coupling system. A driver could reverse toward a trailer, engage it without leaving the cab, and be ready to move in seconds. This mimicked the speed with which a horse could be unharnessed and hitched to another wagon, something no conventional truck could do at the time. Early mechanical horses used small petrol engines derived from Jowett designs and had lightweight cabs often framed in wood with metal skinning, reflecting material shortages and cost concerns of the era. They were produced in different load ratings, commonly referred to as 3-ton and 6-ton versions, allowing operators to choose a model based on the weight of their typical cargo. British railway companies, especially the London Midland and Scottish Railway and later British Rail, became some of the largest users. Parcel services, breweries, and municipal fleets also adopted them in large numbers. What made the mechanical horse truly strange was that it was not meant to be a general-purpose truck. It was a mechanical substitute for a horse, designed to work in exactly the same operational niche. It did not need high speed or long-range capability. It needed to start quickly, maneuver precisely, and swap loads all day without rest. In that role, it succeeded brilliantly. Thousands were built, and many remained in service well into the 1950s and early 90s. Today, the mechanical horse looks almost comical. A tiny cab perched over a single wheel towing a boxy trailer like a toy. But historically, it represents a moment when engineers solved a real-world logistical problem with originality instead of imitation. Rather than shrinking a truck, Scammell reimagined the entire concept of urban haulage. It stands as one of the clearest examples of function shaping form in commercial vehicle history. Number 2. Scammell Scarab. After World War II, Britain faced rebuilding, rationing, and a massive demand for efficient transport. The mechanical horse had proven its value, but by the late 1940s it was outdated in comfort, power, and safety. Scammell responded in 1948 with the Scarab, a machine that kept the core philosophy of the mechanical horse but modernized nearly every element. The Scarab retained the three-wheel layout with a single front wheel and a rear axle, preserving the legendary maneuverability that urban operators depended on. What changed was everything surrounding that concept. The cab became fully steel, more enclosed, and far more comfortable for drivers who now expected weather protection and better ergonomics. The front gained a rounded, beetle-like bonnet that gave the vehicle its name. Underneath, Scammell fitted more modern engines and driveline components, improving reliability and making the Scarab suitable for heavier and faster post-war operations. Urban logistics had changed by the late 1940s. Cities were busier, traffic was denser, and expectations of productivity were higher. The Scarab's improved suspension, steering, and braking reflected this new reality. It was still not designed for long-distance haulage. It remained a specialist machine for depots, rail yards, breweries, and municipal distribution. But it could work longer hours with less fatigue for the driver and greater consistency for fleet managers. What makes the Scarab feel strange today is how purpose-built it is. Modern trucks aim to be versatile. The Scarab did not. Its entire identity was tied to the idea of rapid trailer exchange in tight spaces. A single driver could detach one load, attach another, and be moving again in moments. This reduced labor costs and turnaround time in an era when manual handling dominated logistics. Rail companies in particular valued this efficiency, using Scarabs to shuttle freight between sidings and warehouses without complex yard infrastructure. Production continued until 1967, a remarkably long life for such a specialized vehicle. Its decline was not due to failure but to changing systems. Containerization, forklifts, palletization, and standardized trucks reduced the need for ultra-specialized urban tractors. Yet for nearly 2 decades after the war, the Scarab was an indispensable link between rail and road. Visually, it remains one of the oddest commercial vehicles ever produced. The bulbous nose, tiny wheelbase, and trailer-first proportions seem alien beside modern vans. But like its predecessor, the Scarab embodies a design philosophy where efficiency mattered more than beauty. It is a machine that tells the story of a nation rebuilding itself, one short urban trip at a time. Number 3. Citroen. Type H. When Citroen unveiled the Type H in 1947, Europe was still recovering from war. Materials were scarce, budgets were tight, and businesses needed affordable transport more than style. Citroen's engineers responded with a van that ignored conventional aesthetics and focused entirely on practicality. The result was a vehicle that looked like it was made from recycled aircraft parts, flat sides, exposed ribs, and corrugated metal panels running across the body. The corrugation was not decorative. It added rigidity to thin steel panels, allowing Citroën to save weight and material while maintaining structural strength. This approach mirrored aircraft construction techniques and made the van both light and durable. The Type H used front-wheel drive and a unibody structure, which was revolutionary for a commercial vehicle at the time. Most vans still relied on ladder frames and rear-wheel drive. By placing the drivetrain at the front, Citroën achieved a low flat load floor and a square cargo area that could be used to its full height. For tradespeople, this was transformative. A baker, plumber, or electrician could stand upright inside the van. Loading heavy items required less lifting. The sliding side door and wide rear opening made access effortless. The Type H quickly became ubiquitous across France and later in other European countries. It served as ambulances, police vans, postal vehicles, mobile workshops, and market stalls. In rural areas, it was often the only motorized link between villages and towns. What makes the Type H strange is that it never tried to look modern. Over its 34-year production run, the basic shape barely changed. While cars evolved through fins, curves, and angular lines, the Type H remained an industrial box. Its visual identity became timeless through stubbornness. Even in the 1970s, new Type H vans looked like relics from another era. Today, the van is celebrated as a design icon. Restored examples are converted into coffee trucks and food vans, prized for their character. Yet its fame hides its original purpose, to be cheap, tough, and useful in a damaged economy. The Type H proves that strangeness in machinery often comes from honesty. Every rib, flat panel, and awkward proportion exists because it solved a problem. It is one of the clearest examples of post-war engineering shaped by necessity rather than fashion. Number 4. Bedford CA. Introduced in 1952, the Bedford CA emerged at a time when small businesses across Britain were expanding. Shops, tradesmen, and service companies needed light commercial vehicles that were affordable, compact, and easy to maintain. Bedford, the commercial arm of Vauxhall, delivered a van that would become a familiar sight on British roads for over a decade. The CA's most striking feature was its pug nose. Instead of a long bonnet or a full cab-over design, Bedford created a short, rounded front end that housed the engine while keeping the vehicle compact. This gave the van a friendly, almost cartoonish appearance. The shape was not chosen for charm. It was a packaging solution that allowed a short overall length while retaining access to the engine for maintenance. Mechanically, the CA was simple. It used proven petrol engines, straightforward suspension, and rugged components that local garages could service. This made it ideal for small operators who could not afford downtime or specialist repairs. The van was offered in multiple body styles: panel van, pickup, minibus, and chassis cab for custom bodies. It became a favorite for delivery services, utility companies, and even ambulance builders. What makes the Bedford CA strange in retrospect is how narrow and tall it feels. Compared to modern vans, it looks almost fragile. Small wheels, thin pillars, and minimal crash protection reflect a different era of vehicle design. Yet within its context, it was perfectly suited to post-war Britain's roads and economy. It could navigate narrow streets, park in tight spaces, and carry enough load for local commerce. The CA also became a cultural artifact. Many were converted into camper vans during the rise of British domestic tourism. Families took them to seaside towns, turning a humble work vehicle into a symbol of freedom. Today, restored Bedford CAs appear at classic shows, cherished for their character and nostalgia. Its strangeness lies in how openly it reflects its time. It is not sleek, fast, or powerful. It is small, earnest, and practical. In an age before the Ford Transit standardized the van market, the Bedford CA represents a uniquely British answer to everyday transport, a machine built not to impress but to serve. Number 5. GMC DUKW. Among all strange classic trucks, none blur the line between vehicle and vessel as completely as the GMC DUKW. Developed during World War II, the DUKW was not designed for style, comfort, or even longevity. It was built for one brutal task: to carry men and supplies from ships directly onto hostile shores. Conventional trucks could not do this, and boats could not easily move cargo once they reached land. The DUKW solved that problem by becoming both. Based on the proven GMC CCKW 2.5-ton military truck, the DUKW used the same basic drivetrain and many common parts. Engineers then wrapped that mechanical core in a watertight steel hull, fitted a propeller at the rear, and added a rudder linked to the steering wheel. The result was a 6-wheel drive amphibious truck capable of driving off a landing ship, swimming through rough water, and climbing directly onto a beach under fire. More than 21,000 DUKWs were produced between 1942 and 1945. They were used extensively in the Pacific and European theaters, most famously during the Normandy landings. Their value was immediate. Where docks had been destroyed or did not exist, DUKWs delivered ammunition, food, and medical supplies straight from anchored ships to the shore. They could return wounded soldiers to hospital ships without needing specialized landing craft. What makes the DUKW so strange is that it was never fully a truck or a boat. On land, it was tall, heavy, and slower than standard trucks. In water, it was slower and less agile than purpose-built boats. Yet in the narrow space between sea and land, it was unmatched. That transitional role defined its existence. After the war, many DUKWs were sold to civilian operators. Some became workboats in harbors and river systems. Others were converted into sightseeing vehicles, giving rise to duck tours that still operate in cities around the world. These peacetime roles preserved the vehicle's visibility long after other wartime machines vanished. Seeing a DUKW today is still jarring. A truck with a boat's hull and a propeller looks like an engineering mistake, but historically it represents one of the most successful hybrid vehicles ever built. It is strange because it embodies compromise, yet it worked so well that it changed amphibious logistics forever. Number 6. GM Futurliner. In the late 1930s and early 1940s, General Motors wanted to show the public what the future might look like. The company created the Parade of Progress, a traveling exhibition that brought new technologies to towns and cities across America. To carry this vision, GM built a fleet of extraordinary vehicles known as Futurliners. Only 12 Futurliners were constructed. Each was nearly 11 meters long and over 6 meters tall, towering over normal traffic. They were neither buses nor trucks in the conventional sense. Each vehicle carried a self-contained exhibition module. Giant side panels folded open to reveal stages, displays, and demonstration spaces. Inside were exhibits about jet engines, electricity, household appliances, and futuristic transportation. Mechanically, the Futurliners were heavy-duty commercial vehicles, using GM truck components adapted to their massive custom bodies. They had large gasoline engines, heavy frames, and complex electrical systems to power displays. They traveled in convoys, forming a rolling spectacle that transformed parking lots and fairgrounds into temporary world's fairs. What makes the Futurliner so strange is its purpose. It was not meant to haul goods or build infrastructure. It was a marketing machine. Every curve, chrome strip, and towering panel was designed to impress and inspire. It combined industrial engineering with theatrical presentation, creating a vehicle that existed solely to tell a story about tomorrow. After the parade of progress ended in the 1950s, the Futurliners were dispersed. Some were scrapped. Others became mobile churches, command vehicles, or novelty transports. A few survived in barns and storage yards, forgotten until collectors recognized their historical value decades later. Restored Futurliners now command extraordinary prices and are displayed in museums and elite collections. Seeing one in person feels unreal. It looks like a spaceship that took a wrong turn onto a highway. Yet it is entirely real, built from steel, glass, and mid-century optimism. The Futurliner is strange because it represents a moment when corporations believed technology itself could be paraded like a circus. It is a truck that carried dreams rather than cargo, making it one of the most unusual machines ever to wear a license plate. Number 7. Rotinoff Atlantic. In the early 1950s, Britain's road transport industry faced a growing challenge. Post-war reconstruction demanded the movement of massive loads, industrial machinery, power station components, military equipment, and oversized infrastructure parts. Standard lorries simply were not strong enough. Instead of expanding slowly like large manufacturers, a small company named Rotinoff Motors emerged with an audacious idea: build a road tractor so powerful that it could haul loads previously thought impossible for highways. Founded by engineer George Rotinoff in 1952, the company produced the Rotinoff Atlantic and later the Super Atlantic. These machines were not ordinary trucks, they were ballast tractors, vehicles designed specifically for extreme heavy haulage. The Atlantic used a massive steel chassis, heavy-duty axles, and a Rolls-Royce petrol engine derived from aircraft and military technology. This power plant alone set it apart from conventional lorries of the era, which typically used modest diesel engines. The Atlantic's purpose was singular: move extraordinary weight. It could haul multi-axle trailers, carrying loads far beyond the capacity of standard road vehicles. Only a very small number were ever built, fewer than 40 Atlantics and Super Atlantics combined. Many were exported to countries with demanding terrain and specialized needs, including Switzerland, where they served in military and industrial roles. What makes the Rotinoff Atlantic strange is not only its rarity, but its scale. It looks oversized even beside modern heavy trucks. Its cab sits high and narrow, mounted on a chassis that seems almost industrial rather than automotive. It does not resemble a delivery vehicle or highway tractor. It resembles a mobile piece of factory equipment. Rotinoff Motors could not survive long-term. The market for such extreme vehicles was tiny, and larger manufacturers eventually entered the heavy-haul segment with more standardized designs. By the late 1950s, Rotinoff ceased operations, yet the machines themselves proved durable. Several survive today in museums and private collections, still capable of movement decades after their creation. The Atlantic represents a moment when one engineer's vision briefly outpaced the industry. It is strange because it feels like a prototype that escaped into reality. A truck built without compromise, designed for a job so specialized that the world barely had room for it. Number 8. Marmon-Herrington conversion. Before four-wheel drive trucks became common, most commercial vehicles were helpless off paved roads. Mud, sand, snow, and rough terrain stopped them cold. In the 1930s, Marmon-Herrington recognized this limitation and created a new category of vehicle by modifying standard commercial trucks into all-wheel drive machines. Rather than building trucks from scratch, Marmon-Herrington took existing chassis from manufacturers such as Ford and Chevrolet and re-engineered them. They added driven front axles, transfer cases, reinforced frames, and heavy-duty suspension components. The result was a hybrid, part factory truck, part specialist engineering project. These vehicles found homes in places where ordinary trucks failed. Airfields used them to refuel aircraft on rough ground. Mining and oil operations used them in remote regions. Military forces adopted them for transport in deserts, jungles, and mountainous terrain. During World War II, Marmon-Herrington became a crucial supplier of high-mobility vehicles for Allied forces. What makes these trucks strange is that no two were quite the same. Each conversion was tailored to a customer's need. Some were two-axle 4x4s, others six-wheel drive machines. They looked familiar at first glance, often retaining the body of a standard Ford or Chevrolet, but closer inspection revealed unfamiliar driveline components and raised ride heights. They occupied a gray zone between commercial and military vehicles. They were not designed for battle, yet they often served in combat zones. They were not mass-produced in the modern sense, yet hundreds were built for specialized fleets. This liminal identity makes them difficult to categorize and easy to forget. Marmon-Herrington's work laid the foundation for modern off-road commercial trucks. Today's all-wheel drive fire engines, expedition vehicles, and military transports owe their existence to this early experimentation. These trucks are strange because they were pioneers, machines created before the industry even knew what such vehicles should look like. Number 9. Tatra 111. While most Western trucks evolved around a ladder frame chassis, two long steel rails joined by crossmembers, Czechoslovak manufacturer Tatra followed a radically different path. The Tatra 111, developed during World War II and produced from 1942 into the early 1960s, embodied this alternative philosophy. At its core was Tatra's signature backbone tube chassis, a large central tubular spine that carried the drivetrain and supported the entire vehicle, with independent swinging half-axles mounted at each wheel. This design looked alien to engineers accustomed to conventional frames, yet it delivered remarkable strength and flexibility. The backbone tube protected vital mechanical components from damage and allowed the chassis to twist over rough terrain without stressing the body. Combined with air-cooled engines, most famously a V12 diesel in early versions, the T111 became legendary for reliability in extreme environments. The truck's most famous chapter came after the war, when hundreds of T111s were sent east to assist in rebuilding the Soviet Union. They operated in Siberia, hauling timber, machinery, and supplies across frozen roads and trackless wilderness. In regions where temperatures plunged far below zero, water-cooled engines often failed. Tatra's air-cooled design kept running. Drivers reported that the trucks could be started in conditions that immobilized other vehicles entirely. Visually, the T111 looked strange even by heavy truck standards. The cab was tall and narrow, perched over a long hood. The stance was high, the wheels sat at unusual angles due to the swinging axles, and the frame was invisible, hidden within the central tube. To those unfamiliar with Tatra engineering, it looked like a truck assembled by different rules. Yet the T111 was no experiment. Around 34,000 units were produced. It became the backbone of logging, construction, and military logistics in Eastern Europe and beyond. The design proved so effective that Tatra continued refining the backbone concept in later models, a lineage that persists in modern Tatra heavy vehicles. The strangeness of the T111 lies in how completely it rejects Western convention and how completely it succeeds. It is a reminder that engineering does not follow a single path. In isolation behind political and economic barriers, Tatra developed a philosophy that produced one of the toughest trucks of the 20th century. The T111 looks odd because it belongs to a different evolutionary branch of automotive history, one that prioritized resilience over familiarity. Number 10. Leyland Octopus. Long before modern articulated lorries dominated highways, moving heavy cargo by road required creative solutions. In 1934, Leyland Motors introduced one such solution, the Leyland Octopus. It was among Britain's first successful 8-wheeled rigid trucks, designed to carry far greater loads than traditional 4- or 6-wheelers could handle. The Octopus used a twin-steer, twin-drive axle layout, spreading weight across 8 wheels. This allowed it to comply with road regulations while dramatically increasing payload capacity. In an era before standardized container shipping and high-capacity semi-trailers, this configuration made it possible to transport large industrial loads, steel, machinery, construction materials directly on a single rigid vehicle. Early Octopus models were powered by large petrol engines, later replaced by Leyland's own diesels. Over decades, the platform evolved, but the core concept remained: maximize load within the limits of the road network. For construction firms, municipal services, and heavy industry, the octopus became indispensable. What makes the octopus strange today is its sheer presence. Its long, slab-sided body, multiple axles, and rigid form make it appear almost prehistoric beside modern tractor-trailer combinations. Where contemporary heavy transport relies on articulated joints and modular trailers, the octopus carried everything on one immense frame. This was not inefficiency, it was innovation. At a time when road infrastructure and regulations were still evolving, Leyland engineered a truck that stretched the boundaries of what highways could handle. The octopus helped prove that road transport could rival rail for heavy freight, shaping the future of commercial logistics in Britain. Surviving examples feel like relics from an alternate timeline of trucking. They are massive yet simple, powerful yet slow, elegant only in their purpose. The octopus stands as a monument to an era when engineers expanded capacity not by adding trailers, but by adding wheels. Its strangeness is historical. It represents a transitional phase between early lorries and the articulated giants that would follow. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.